What's up, guys? Welcome back to Is It Still Good, the channel where we watch older films and see if they still hold up. Today, we're going to get into a really good movie from 1990, The Hunt for Red October. But first, let's try to sell a book. Okay, so hopefully we sold a book. I'm going to get into it. This is going to be like a wham bam review. I wanted to do a quicker one because Predator took a ton of editing and time. Also, a lot of my energy in the comment section. You guys are going nuts. On one hand, everybody's seeing what I talked about when I said Predator 1 is the only Predator film I watch. I am getting a lot of pushback from Predator 2 fans. Look, I like Predator 2, with the exception of it was done by the director that did the fifth Nightmare on Elm Street movie with all the cheesy lighting, and P2 sort of looks the same way. The Predator looks goofy. Other than that, it's a really good movie. I like Danny Glover. I like the supporting cast. I like that it took place in the city. I like the fake out of like the pan up where you think you're in the jungle, but it turns out it's LA. It's cool. I think P2 is actually pretty cool and a lot better than Prey, mind you. I did see a review that said Prey was the best film in the Predator franchise now, and I almost fell out of my chair. So, for all of you that showed up in the comment section to attack me on my views on Prey, saying that I couldn't handle the fact that a strong female lead defeated a Yapcha, or I don't like strong female leads in my stories, or whatever, I have 3 words for you. Ellen effin' Ripley. Okay? One of my favorite fictional characters in all of cinema. I just didn't think to do Alien or Aliens on this channel because it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, everybody knows Predator's still good, but I did that one to kind of remind everybody that was all kind of freaking out about Prey how much better the original was. RoboCop, same thing. Nobody disputes Alien or Aliens is amazing. So that's kind of why I haven't featured it on the channel. That being said, I may have to, just to show people I have no problem with a strong female lead. Anyway, speaking of a movie with no females of any kind in it, The Hunt for Red October, based on the novel by Tom Clancy, and this came out in 1990. It's actually PG. Not a lot of swearing, not a lot of violence. It's just kind of like a thriller, action thriller. Runs 2 hours, 15 minutes, and stats, 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, 91% of Google users like it. It stars Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Sam Neill, Tim Curry, James Earl Jones, and others that I recognize the faces of, but didn't exactly know everybody's names. So it's got a really killer cast in it, and everybody's really acting their butts off. Nobody stood out to me as being cheesy or corny. It all seemed pretty tight. Directed by John Mctiernan, and that's what made me watch this one. It was streaming on Netflix. I figured, why not? It's a nice intermediary movie between, RoboCop, Predator, Hunt for Red October. Next up will be The Burbs, by the way. I hope you guys are excited.
You talk about guilt. You ran into a hailstorm over the sea of Japan, right? Everybody's sweating their guts out.
I haven't seen that movie in forever. I really hope it holds up because I used to love it. But Hunt for Red October had a budget of $30 million, and it made $200 million at the box office. So, big hit. It won Oscars for best effects, sound effects, editing, and I think a few other things. And I often thought this movie, I really like the music in this movie. No wonder. Done by Basil Palladores. Makes all the sense in the world. So I didn't take a lot of notes. Like I said, this is going to be a wham bam review. Okay, so Mctiernan does a couple of brilliant things in this movie that really kind of blow me away. One of them is, how do you tackle them, jumping between the Russians speaking Russian and the Americans speaking English? And the way they do it is perfectly. Right in the very beginning, he zooms in on a Russian officer reading a poem in Russian, and then when the camera gets, at its closest, he switches to perfect English, and it pans out very slowly, letting the audience know, from here on, we're going to be translating for you. This becomes a very clever mechanic later on when the Americans and the Russians are hanging out with each other, spoiler, and they switch back to Russian. And it can be confusing, but I think it was done very tastefully, very well. The other thing is, another problem with a film like this is, how do you hop from one submarine to the next submarine? Because it kind of follows 3 subs in this sort of cat and mouse naval tactic story.
Torpedo impact. 12 seconds. 10, 9,
And Mctiernan handles it brilliantly. In one sub, the lighting is always like a muted green. In another sub, it's always a muted red. And then I believe a muted blue or yellow. I can't remember which, but he picks different colors for the interiors of the different subs. And it's very, very subtle, but your brain picks up on it. And it really helps you know that we just switched to the other submarine. So I love that about it. Stars Alec Baldwin pretty much and Sean Connery. And Alec Baldwin got the job when Harrison Ford turned it down. And I believe for Patriot Games, he asked for the same salary that Harrison Ford would have gotten. They said, no, but we have that in the budget, so let's just get Harrison Ford. So I believe he played, is that also Jack Ryan? I don't know. I don't know Tom Clancy books. They're very daddish. When I was growing up, everybody's dad was reading a Tom Clancy book. That's all they read. And for me, I always thought it was kind of funny. Sean Connery was in the Royal Navy before he started acting. That's kind of interesting. I didn't know that. And he was kind of a pain in the ass on this one, too. He showed up wearing a ponytail. And everybody's like, what are you doing, man? Can't wear a ponytail here. And, he wore this ponytail. He went over McTiernan's head to the studio, trying to use his impressive clout to make sure he could rock that ponytail. And they did for a bunch of the shoot. And then they got him a toupee, switched it. McTiernan got his way. And the joke is that the toupee cost $20K because that's how much it cost them in reshoots. So that's kind of funny. The teddy bear you see at the end was the same teddy bear as Die Hard, another McTiernan film. And McTiernan actually had to pass up Die Hard 2 to make this one. And I think that's rough because I really do like The Hunt for Red October quite a bit. That being said, I would have loved it if McTiernan did Die Hard 2. I mean, I'm such a huge fan of the first one, but whatever. I really love how they subtly switch those languages. Like I said, it's just so cool. The music is triumphant and fun. This is the perfect dad film. This is a movie that if you had to watch a film with your dad, you'd put on The Hunt for Red October, and you probably are both going to have a good time. You know, kind of like when you're watching a movie with a kid, you try to pick like a cool one. Like, if I got to watch a movie with a kid, I'm going to be like, cool, let's watch Neverending Story or something, or Goonies or something awesome. And this way I can suffer through whatever, the kid and I are both having fun is the idea. Same thing with this and dads. Dads love this movie. It's a total dude movie. There's no women in it of any kind that I can remember.
Then I will live in Montana. And I will marry a round American woman and raise rabbits.
The character building is top notch. You really get a sense of where everybody's coming from by the end. Nice, sudden reversals and shifts in the plot. Very cool. Everything's really well set up. Everything comes back neatly at the end. And throughout the film, McTiernan's a master of setting things up. We've seen it time and time again. This is no different. This is a quality film. I love when the Russians and Americans have to work together and combine their tactics, which is against their instinct, to both survive. It's a clever movie, but it's not too clever. It's tense. It has a satisfying ending, and that was the end of my notes. That's the most I wrote. So I know it's kind of a quicker review. I mean, I don't have a ton to say on The Hunt for Red October. That being said, I come from a military family. I know a lot of dudes in the military. There's a lot of things that would go over your head. I would give this film a 9 out of 10 for execution, with the exception of, if you're not into that, a lot of this stuff's not going to matter to you. I mean, there's dialogue about, did you see where he got his ring? He graduated from this thing. And, it's military driven in many ways. You get the subtlety of certain guys with clout vouching for others to open certain doors that wouldn't be open. It's neat to see how that works, how they all kind of stay tight throughout their careers. And, speaking from a guy that hangs out with a lot of these people, yes, it is that way. If you're a lifer, you do keep your friends close and they do help you open doors throughout your career, as it should be, by the way, in a good way. If you need a favor, you can ask a favor. They'll help you with certain things. And that's kind of what's happening in this. Jack Ryan goes to his mentor, which is played by James Earl Jones, and he's phenomenal in it. Man, I miss that guy's voice. He's so cool. It's just a good, clever movie. You can watch this with your girlfriend. She won't be mad. It's fun. I don't know. It's just like the film equivalent of chest hair or something. I don't know. I don't know how to explain this film. It's just kind of it's just a really good movie. And I haven't seen it in a long time. I was worried it might be kind of cheesy, but considering the current political climate with Russia and stuff, it's actually still fairly relevant. Now, for a guy like me that's 42, that's been hearing for his whole life that there's going to be nuclear war at any time, a film about preventing that is kind of yeah. You know what I mean? I spent my whole life worrying about that stuff. I'm not worried about it anymore because I don't want to waste the next 40 being stressed about nuclear war. If it happens, it happens. But, this film's theme of we got to prevent this nuclear war fell flat with me because I'm just desensitized because of real life, you know? But that's not the movie's fault. The movie's very clever, very well done. I like the sub scenes. It's fun. All in all, I give The Hunt for Red October 8 out of 10. And it would be higher. I can actually even qualify that. Like if you're into military stuff, you're a dad, you know, you're of dad age, you like Tom Clancy novels, this is like a 9 out of 10 for you. Guaranteed.
Actually, I think I will need 2 wives.
Oh, at least.
But for your layman that's not into any of this stuff, it's not your genre, you don't really care about the Cold War era and what was going on behind the scenes, it's an 8 out of 10. It's still very, very watchable. It's still very good. You're not going to waste your 2 hours. It's fun. If you're a Sean Connery fan, it's essential viewing. You got to know your guy, right? So that's it for me, guys. Thank you to everybody that's been subscribing. Let's grow the channel. I'll continue to pump them out. Next one's The Burbs. I'm super pumped about that. It's been a long time, and we'll see what happens. But I'll catch you guys next time on Is It Still Good?
A little revolution now and then is a healthy thing, don't you think?